I was working last night.
Basketball practice.
How's
Hey.
it going?
Have a good holiday season. Haven't seen you.
Yeah, passing ships.
Good evening, Sean. Good evening. Ram's still in here, right?
You've only missed one meeting, all right?
For another 20 years.
Oh, wait.
I'll talk to Craig about that.
Is Joe coming?
What?
No.
I don't know.
No. At least I can see this.
His kid's graduating from Whitney.
Oh, great. Damon?
I'm not sure what it is. Yeah, I don't know what branch.
Good for him. Sure.
How are you?
Good. I like the look.
Warm.
I think.
Did you get hurt playing basketball the other day? Did you hurt anybody?
Did I hurt anybody?
Yeah.
No, luckily. I didn't hurt myself.
You didn't hurt anybody, you're okay.
I didn't hurt myself either, which was the thing I was worried most about, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's the International Residential Code.
You guys had me so confused last night.
Ken just gifted this.
Oh.
I gotta take a look at it. I found it online though, but I like
Just
this
to
cover.
memorize that.
I mean, he's got 2 weeks to go to the planning meeting.
You got 2 weeks to get it.
Fancy seeing you here. I know it. I mean, this is, you know, some people have alcohol anonymous, right? I have city meetings anonymous.
Some days this meeting wants me to take up alcohol.
I was gonna say, I think this is the opposite of alcohol anonymous here.
And I always go away smiling and laughing.
You know, people ask me why I come here, I says, because I want to be in on the gossip, I want to know what's happening.
But have you heard the latest?
Better sit and watch TV or sit in a bar and drink.
Yeah.
What is it? I need to know. Come on.
It's like chit chat with friends and they're like, oh, I have no idea. Well, you should.
I don't know any of it.
Sometimes it's better not to.
See, I got enough to do it anyways.
It's just when you sit down someplace and all of a sudden people all around you start talking. It's like,
Crazy, you know, things you gotta do to redo. Some of us are getting contract. Some of them, we didn't approve March 15th. It's basically give you 2 days and we'll get back to you next week, everybody we got.
Yeah, but I didn't get it until like at the door down there. Oh yeah. Patrick's good area.
I couldn't even get in. Watch my kid. She forgot my phone was in. So I knew he was.
6 o'clock, we'll call this meeting to order. Will you join me with the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilman Rao.
Present.
Councilman Hunter.
Here.
Mayor Rao.
Here.
Councilman LaVerie.
Mr. LaVerie is absent tonight. His son's graduating from boot camp, so he's gone.
Councilman Fitzsimons.
Present.
Are we in compliance with our open meeting law?
Yes.
Okay. Public comment. Do we have any public comment related to the items on the agenda tonight? Nothing on the board needs to be addressed either on there. I can't see what they are. Guess not. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Move for approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approve to deny conditional use permit at 40 Main Street in order to use the garage for a small retail store, the garage sale.
Just know that that passed yesterday at the planning commission meeting. So we've discussed it several times in here.
I make a motion that we approve it.
Did planning, they approved it without discussion, or they've had it a couple times on there?
No, we've discussed it a few times. We've gone back and forth because we didn't realize we needed a conditional use permit because it's in a commercially zoned area, but turns out we do. So anyways, that's why it got kicked back.
So, yeah, it's in a commercial area. We've got the weird code. It was supposed to be on tonight. When I reviewed the agenda, I just missed that it wasn't on there. And so we're gonna switch the code so it doesn't have to come back and forth between the council again. So it's an appropriate placement and no one objected to it.
Was unanimous, approved.
I'll go ahead and second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve conditional use permit for 40 Main Street for the garage sale. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Before you leave that subject, I see in our stuff there, we have a logo license,
Yeah, I was gonna discuss that in my legal report.
a legal report. Okay. Very good.
Okay. Approve and deny rental of room 18 to Track B Exchange for counseling services. In exchange for counseling services.
Yeah, so I got a call from Track B a few weeks ago. They were looking to rent some space for counseling. She was hoping to be here tonight, but then turns out she had another meeting she had to attend. That was Chelsea with Track B. She had been here to present a few times. Basically, it's a room, she said, in case it's asked, it has nothing to do with the vending machine. It's simply a counseling service where they will be aiding individuals who are seeking help.
Is it state?
This is Track B is through, well, it's not a state
They're
thing.
a private organization.
Yeah.
Exchange for counseling service. They
Well-
want to exchange the.
No, they,
Track B Exchange is the name of the
Yeah.
group for counseling services.
Yeah.
Want to give us counseling for free rent.
You probably need it. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's, their full title is Track B Exchange is
so we treat them just like any other tenant. They pay a monthly fee and
Yep,
And
we
then-
already kind of quoted them the same price that they have in the
I
past.
would move for approval of the rental
I'll
agreement.
second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve rental of room 18 to Track B exchange for counseling services. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. For discussion, explore options for development of a master plan at the industrial park.
So you guys talked about approving that last week so we could get to Sunrise and discuss that with them. That's what we want to do. And there was some question about whether we wanted to look at somebody else doing it. And I don't remember who else was talked about. I
Sunrise
apologize.
is our engineers.
Yeah.
What's that?
I say Sunrise is our city, the city's engineers, so it'd be advantageous to us, I believe,
To use them, but I thought we had talked about using somebody else to do it, and I brought up Sunrise.
I don't think anybody asked about it. I don't remember.
Oh.
Sunrise, the only ones I could,
Sunrise.
Yeah, we talked
Could
about
have us.
having it surveyed and doing the whole survey, and that's when I said, no,
Oh.
let's have, that's what it was.
okay.
I apologize about that. So, I have not been in contact with Sunrise. I don't know if, when we left the meeting, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to get a price or if we were just going to discuss it and see if that's where we wanted to go to do this. I wasn't sure how the whole discussion was going, so I have not been in contact with Sunrise. If that's where you want me to go, we can go bring them in on it, or do I need to bring a price back to you guys?
I think we need to contact them and, yeah, get all the information we can
Okay.
and see when they can do it and bring it back to our next meeting for approval, I think.
Okay. I will do that.
All planned to have something from you and then on the agenda, approve or deny,
With a price.
come back.
That'd probably be better off to do that.
And this is the existing industrial park, not counting the parcels we've already sold to Bourne, right? I mean, this is the,
If they come up with a master plan, we just need to have those as part of
as
the
part,
plan.
okay. All right, that's what I figured.
They should, it seems like they already have some of that stuff, so it'll be good to
They do,
upgrade it and
yeah.
get it set out. Okay, any other discussion on that? Okay. For discussion, how would you like to use the remaining American Rescue Plan action dollars?
What amount are we talking about?
So we originally received back in July, $722,792.57. In case you wanted those 57 cents for something special. We have spent to date $205,188.38, with the exception of the waste equip invoice, which we're waiting on, but I've accounted for that in the 205.
You accounted for the sheriff's contract? Or I guess that's not gonna be on the sheriff's.
I don't think that's part of the,
Original money that we got, wasn't it?
Was that
We
the-
paid them out of
the CARES Act.
Okay, just making sure. Yeah, I think it was the CARES Act
That was
money.
CARES Act, yeah.
So unless there's something I'm missing, I tried to go back. I think that's,
No, you might be right.
I understood, I was
We paid
thinking it was
them a
out of
big
this.
chunk out of the first 96,000 we got, and then we agreed in our contract.
So we were gonna pay from this year and next year's
Yeah.
payment out of that, so there's another
It was an
100,000.
increased rate. they
pay
were
them
gonna charge.
40, if I'm not mistaken, we pay them, is it
But the new
43,000 a
contract we
quarter?
just agreed with them takes 100,000 out of this one and 100,000 out of the next payment.
Okay, so 100,000.
So we gotta look
out-
at that contract with them because it's broke down at the last page
Okay,
on there.
okay, so,
Then the contract was gonna go down some, wasn't it, Franklin? Yeah, After those- so it was a 3-year contract.
Yeah.
And then we'd renegotiate the price and the terms after 2 that. years were gonna be really high, and then the last. The one's third gonna go one's going back some. down. Yep.
okay. So 100,000 of it is meant to come out of the ARP funds this year and another 100,000 next year out of that.
Yep.
So however we want to account for that, we're going to get a second payment for essentially the same amount sometime next year, probably July again, for the same 722,000. If we just want to say 200,000 of that is allocated to the sheriff's office, then that leaves us 300,000 this year. Or we say, I mean, I guess it's probably more appropriate to say we've got 100,000 out this year. That leaves us 400 and some thousand. And then next year we'll have 600,000.
What cannot it be used for? Can we use it for anything?
You can't use it for anything, but it's pretty broad. I was trying to dig into that today so I could have some specific answers for you, but you can use it for a lot.
The two things I remember him talking about was you couldn't pay somebody's pension, like you couldn't buy somebody's pension out with it, and you couldn't lower taxes and use it to supplement your tax rate.
Okay,
Other than that, it was pretty open.
can we get curb and gutter in some of the areas that don't have it with that fee, with that money?
We certainly could put some of that into it.
Yeah, that part of that broad stroke was community enhancement, you know, things like that. We've already did some with public safety, but yeah, community enhancement or something that helps the community.
We ought to plan on, with the choice that you put up on some of the streets that need curb and gutter and sidewalks down in front of them.
Put that out to
There's
bid.
another deal on this too. I was gonna talk about it more in my report at the end, but I have talked with Horsford's office, and they have the infrastructure money that's given to the state that they bring down for us for infrastructure. I don't know if curb and gutters and stuff would be considered infrastructure,
Curb and gutter would certainly be storm drain.
okay? So that's maybe a revenue to get money that we wouldn't have to spend this money on. I discussed replacing our transformers with him, and he said should be definitely within the scope of that money being used. And he was having his people work on that and supposed to get back to us on that stuff too. So that should be coming shortly, I hope.
I have a question on that. We're trying to get appraisals on some of the city-owned property. Can we use that money to get the appraisal fee taken care of?
To get what done now?
Well, we want to sell some of the city property,
Okay.
but it needs to be appraised. That's a pretty good chunk of change.
Yeah.
So can we use it for that?
I think we can, yeah.
And we've been wanting to appraise these properties for months now, that we have investors that, you know, want to see what they have or what we have, yeah, to pay that appraiser, like you're saying, to get them out of here, get out from Clark County or wherever. It's commercial
That's the kind of
properties.
stuff we probably need to use some of that money on that we don't normally have money to do that with.
Correct.
So that might be a
That's
good
where I was
deal.
going, because if we're gonna do anything with that, we have to get it appraised.
Yeah.
And the appraisal's only good for, I don't know, 6 months, I think it is.
Yeah.
There's a time limit on it.
Well, and when we're speaking about curb and gutter, I mean, as far as paving the streets as well, I mean, some of the bad ones anyway.
Well, I think that's something maybe we have you look at, see where we need to start.
Or is that more expensive to bid that out? It's like
It's something that's probably more of a bid out type job, especially if we can get state funds to do it.
it'd be good, yeah. I mean, a perfect world would be nice to have everything paved. I mean, it just takes communication to shut down streets for you know, we're inconveniencing people for a day, you know? I mean, your street's being paved this day and move your cars but
Yeah.
that's something that money could go towards.
It would definitely help to do the curb and gutter and pavement in some of the areas for us, make things much nicer and easier to deal with.
Along with some streets.
Yeah.
And if we're talking with Sunrise Engineer in regards to doing some work out there, we ought to have them mark off the rodeo grounds, not the property lines, but mark off a street with lots on each side of it, so that we could get appraisal of that area.
That's what
Yeah.
our building inspector was just talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think
I'm-
Tommy's going a little deeper there. Are you wanting the lots to have appraised, individual lots, or are you wanting the whole thing appraised?
Well, we're probably not gonna sell the whole thing to one person. We're probably gonna have to sell individual lots unless we can find some developer that wants to put a housing development in there.
The problem is, if we divide that up into lots, then we're gonna probably have to be the developers to develop that, are we not?
Well,
I think if a city, I don't think a city can subdivide, right? So
Yeah.
So usually the subdivision law says if you create 3 or more parcels from one parcel, then you have to subdivide, but I don't think that applies to governments. I think if you create,
Okay.
I have to look up the law, but,
You don't think we can do that at all?
no, I think we can
Sewer and
without.
water that runs through it. Right close to it.
Yeah, yeah, we got it on the Clover Street there.
Okay. So that gives us some stuff to look at.
My point was have Sunrise, when they do the industrial park, do the rodeo grounds at the same time.
Ask them about it too, yeah.
That was my suggestion.
Well, and like Mayor said with the Horsford thing too, is some of that infrastructure stuff could help. I mean, we're talking power lines, you know, refurbish things and
Yes.
meters and that kind of stuff. I know that we kind of talked about the meters, or you guys did last time or 2 times ago, but, you know, it'd be interesting to see what else could be in that infrastructure funds to even help out with some of that stuff.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt either if we talked to the power district and kind of get an idea what it's gonna cost us to do that up there. Cause I told him that this stuff, we're looking at like $500,000 for each transformer.
So I will tell you, the big concern in talking with them about our transfer station is its location and it being washed out in a flood event.
Yeah.
That is their biggest concern with it.
Yeah,
And I know there's been a lot of riprap put in there and some protection done, but that's the biggest concern.
Well, and I also told him that. And I says, you know, besides buying the equipment, the infrastructure's gonna have to be changed, upgrading the power lines and stuff there too. We may have to move that thing, put it out on the edge of town or something to make that more feasible, or it's
Yeah.
less apt to have a problem. So, you know, we need to get them to have give us an idea on what it would cost us to do that, and tell them what our plans are to looking at doing, and I'm sure that they probably already have an idea.
It has been discussed in board meetings.
Yeah,
The last flood that we had down there, we didn't have that bridge going into the youth center. All we had was culverts. And that what caused the erosion is because it would, a big tree would back up in that culvert and then it would build up and start bellowing around it until something would get rid of the tree.
Okay,
So with this bridge, there might not be an erosion problem. I don't know.
okay.
anyway, just some things we need to look at, get some
Yeah.
information on.
One of the other items in talking to people quite a bit about this recovery funds, number one thing that I got back was always the streets. Everybody wanted curb, gutter, and streets. Why can we get that? That was like everybody's number one thing. The other interesting project that came up that I had one person bring up that I thought was a good idea was the garbage transfer station. Looking at doing an upgrade there to make that more functional, get rid of some of the gravel, making maybe some bars and some things. But looking at, and while we're talking with Sunrise Engineering again, see what it would cost to maybe look at some engineering on making a better transfer station. I know NDEP would be extremely happy to see some of that.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely concerns with our transfer station, how things are done.
And then sewer pond liners as well, was somebody else pointed out that we need to look at, we need a couple $100,000 to do sewer pond liners.
Liners or to.
Whatever we need down there on the, they said there was something with the sewer ponds, and I thought they were calling it liners, but whatever we need to do there were the other two options that people said, you know, those are kind of priorities we need to look at. Some projects and.
Okay.
And for the other small one that I talked about previously that somebody had mentioned was at the ballpark. Don't know, I mean, I'm just throwing this idea out there, but one of the ideas they said was put up, I mean, it's fairly inexpensive to put shade structures over the bleachers where everybody's sitting, just for shade, but also for ball protection when the people are sitting there and the foul balls come over the edge. Kind of gives a little bit more protection, and that's a fairly inexpensive. I think you get a contractor to install them from, I mean, the tarps themselves and what I researched, they were under $5,000 a piece for them. And then you just get the installation of that with a contractor, so.
Okay,
So my question is, once we get prices for all of this stuff, we're way, I mean, we know we can't even afford the transformers with our money,
right.
or curb and gutter and asphalt for very much with our money. We're not gonna get very far with that stuff. So my question, I guess, is, I can gather this information and come back to you guys with it. But are we trying to look for alternative funds as well? Are we trying to come up with a list of priorities that we want to do and fit into ours, or what are we looking at here? Because I'm still, I
with
know
this-
there's lots of ideas, but I'm not sure what the goal is.
Well, this money from Horsford would be federal money to come to the state for infrastructure. That money, the transformers, the streets, that kind of stuff would come from them. But we need to have a plan. We need to have money, how much it's gonna cost us, so that when they say, yeah, we have that money, we can say, this is what we need it for. This is the plan. So we're ready for them.
Yeah.
When they start passing out the money.
And I think that in part of that, to answer kind of part of your question there, I think we look at using some of these funds to, because I don't think you're, I'm not gonna say capable of putting all that together, but I think we need to use some money to get somebody like Sunrise Engineering to help you
Yeah, oh, yeah.
compile that information. And that's what we're looking at, is use this money to spend, to get these projects shovel-ready, basically.
Yeah, this money here, this 722,000 that we're talking about, that may be for the shades for your park or
Exactly.
stuff like that,
Lawnmower for the parks next year.
that kind of stuff. That's not infrastructure really, that's
Yeah.
where that would qualify, but the other stuff, that's the stuff we need to have some information on and some good figures so that when they start asking or start saying, we've got this money, we can say, well, this is what we need. We'll have it for them. Okay. Do we have any other questions? Okay. Personnel reports, city clerk.
I do have one question. We completely skipped over AMI meters there too, with that discussion.
Uh-huh.
And that was one of the things that brought this discussion to a head, was the AMI meters. I don't know, I did gather some information on cost of employees and fuel, to go with that. And I know the big hangup last time was about $1,000 a month for our subscription to their software, basically.
12,000 a year, yeah.
It's $950 a month, so you're looking at, let's just call it $1,000 a month. Do we want to keep going down that road and looking at that, or where are we at there?
I think we have it as a shovel-ready project, that if some money comes through for it,
Some
we
other
have it
federal
sitting there
funds.
ready to go, that, hey, look, this is a possibility. If we get the money to buy all the equipment and stuff with a grant from Horsford or somebody, then we can move that direction, but have those numbers and plan readily available.
I mean, I think the main question there is, do we want to have $12,000 a year on top of what we're already doing going to meters?
Well, that's what I was wondering, if it was gonna cost, if the cost was gonna be greater than what we're actually doing now, and how much greater?
So that becomes right? It would be cheaper than what we're putting out in dollars that we pay our guys to go read meters. But that cost doesn't go away just because our guys aren't reading meters.
I understand that.
But now they can go do other things. Because the week we read meters, we do trash on Monday, we read meters on Tuesday and Wednesday, we do trash on Thursday, and I've got 2 guys here on Friday. So the week we read meters, there's very little else that gets done.
And I'm
That's 1
not
week a
trying,
month that we have blocked out that goes.
what is the reason for, it seems excessive hours in talking to the previous 2 city managers. They said typically it was 2 guys went out for a day and got the meters read in that amount of time. Both of the previous city managers have stated that that's what it took, and I don't know why we're,
So both, two guys went out for 2 days?
no, for one day. They sent them out in the morning and said, report back. He said, we typically send them out in the morning, and then the next morning they'd go out again and get it, and they'd both be done. So it'd be one day, basically,
Okay.
of reading on that.
So what I've done is I've looked at the time it's taken us the last 3 months, and we've averaged like right at 43 man-hours. So, I know that when I go read meters and do stuff.
Right on,
Well, if it's one day, you're talking 20 man-hours. If it was 2 days, I would say it was 40
40, there you
man-hours,
go.
and we're pretty close. So, but I know
But
that.
either way, that's not a huge, I mean, you're still only dealing with 43 hours of,
I know that I've got the meter books from before when they had, the whole electric crew, right? They've got names on them from prior employees. And I was told that when they had everybody there, they picked one day to read meters, and they went and got it all done in one day, but it was not 2 employees. It was all the employees except for Chris, because he was doing water meters.
yeah.
And that still works out to be about the 40 man-hours.
And so we're not getting rid of anybody, so we're still just paying it,
Yeah.
still the same.
What would the man hours be if it went to these
What's,
new
what's
meters?
gonna,
Yeah.
what's the benefit then?
Yeah,
What we're
what's the
looking at?
man hours, what would the man hours be, you would say, if we say went to that system?
I mean,
They're still taking-
you're talking, they can do other things.
Yeah, so
What are they gonna
man
do?
hours, if you're asking man hours, we no longer read meters.
It would just be,
Charlie will pull
pulls
up
it
the
up.
screen, and I'm sure there's some time to tell it what to do, but it will be, instead of 40 man-hours of
Well-
guys reading, it's all done electronically, and it's downloaded there. And then I'm sure she'll have some other time to tell it to print bills and do those things. But I would assume that it would have cut a bunch of time out for her, because after we read meters, she has to go type every reading into her computer, into the billing program. And I'm not sure what that takes her. So
No, she doesn't
the
know.
productivity that you would see is, we have a week opened up now to go during the summer.
Cut weeds and stuff
Work
like
on
that?
weeds, work on the walking
But it's not a
path.
whole week, it's 40 hours.
Yeah, it's 40 hours, but.
It's having
It's a
one
whole,
guy
it's a
for-
whole week for one guy. Yeah.
I just think that in the long run, the budget's gotta, I mean, we can balance the budget now, but we gotta come up with $950 more a month,
Yes.
which
you're-
means it's gotta come out of the utilities. In order for that fund to stay solvent, it's gotta come out of utilities, which means rates have to go up to
that's
cover
correct.
that fee
And
of
that's why I don't wanna
$950 a month, so that they can have the luxury of doing that. I mean,
Well, it's gonna shift, it's not gonna change our budget much, cause it's all there now. It's just
You're
not,
right.
it's just not gonna come out of the same bucket.
but your $950 is still gonna be paid out of the utilities fund. There's gonna be $950 that has to be paid by the electric utility fund. Will have to go out of that. And only way that that stays solvent, because only way we get money in the electric fund is through revenue generated. So if the expenses go up, rates have to go up.
Okay. Anything else? All right, city clerk.
Back to me. Well, I've spent most of the last couple of weeks working on a lot of audit adjustments and working with Stacy. She's been in contact with both me and Linda. We're getting closer. That was something that we had hoped potentially to have on this meeting agenda, but we're gonna shoot for next to have everything done. And she's way more familiar with that process than I am, so she said if we can't make it then we'll make adjustments and we'll make it work, so. But that's the goal, is to be ready for next meeting with the audit. I was gonna mention a couple of meetings ago, we did get elections posted for this year. We have 2 seats on the council and then the mayor who's up for election this year, so that got posted the way it was supposed to. Thankfully, I had some help from the county.
you'd looked into that too, Franklin?
Posting? Yeah, I've had a lot of conversations with Lisa about it. I think There was one thing that we had messed up on, but we fixed it pretty early, so we're still okay.
I had to do some digging because the elections back over the last few years were a little bit confusing as to who was actually up for election. We didn't know that the mayor was up for election until I
I
went
thought
back.
he was on a 4-year.
Well,
The
it was
short-
because it was in the middle of a term
And
that
that
this
law
election
changed,
came
right?
up.
Didn't we sync with the state and fed, like,
Yep, so a lot of things happened, right?
Yeah.
So two or three of the seats were up in an interim year, as in they were appointed, so they had to run the next election cycle anyway. And in the middle of that, the state synced up the city elections with the state elections instead of having us run on the opposite years. And so there was a lot of confusion. I talked it through with Lisa, I talked it through with Craig and Lisa talked together. We're all on the same page now. Craig's done a ton of research. Just make sure you guys, whoever runs stays on the board for the whole 4 years next time, just in case the state decides to switch us
so
up.
can you tell us at public meeting that who's up, the seats and stuff? I mean, this is for 2022, November.
Yeah, so.
But it'll be out of your hands, it'll be county runs it, right? They'll be, no?
No,
I
the
don't-
city runs the elections. I'll
Yeah,
let
we,
Craig talk.
yeah, no, I've been going back and forth with Lisa as well on that. Originally, I was told I would never have to deal with elections. Apparently, that's not true. So that's cool. But yeah, I think as far as the seats go, correct me if I'm wrong, but Joe's seat is up, Tommy's seat is up, and the mayor's seat is up for election. And those were all posted, so that's not secret. That was in the paper. And then the following 2 years later would be both you and Jamin.
They'll always be staggered like that. I mean,
Yeah, and that's kind of why I got messed up, because if somebody leaves and then we appoint somebody,
Yeah.
they fill that until the next election.
then they have the right to run for election or,
Well, they would have, so if you're appointed in the middle of someone's term, you automatically have to run the next election regardless of when the cycle is. And then you have to run on the regular cycle again.
Yeah.
So
So they
you'd have
can-
to run back to
Okay.
back, 2 years, back to back, basically.
Yeah, so in a 4-year seat, I think it's probably clear, but in a, say your seat, 4-year seat, you go 1 year in and then you leave. Somebody gets appointed to fill your 4-year seat, but they only get to stay a year before they run for election. Then they're elected for 2 years to finish that 4-year seat before they're up again. So that's where the confusion came.
I'm glad you guys figured it out though.
That's where the confusion came.
Yeah, it was kind of confusing.
Yes.
It's done now.
And then, other than that, I told you earlier, Mayor, I was working on a report so I could have everything laid out, and that got pushed by the wayside. So I intend to have a big laundry list of things that I've been working on and present to you at some point. But primarily, it's been audit adjustments, working through things that come up day to day, and then a lot of research, so.
I got a comment on, being you were talking about elections. You elected folks have got until January 15th to get your financial disclosure in, or you'll be fined.
I don't-
by the
Not
city.
even the
I did
elected
it.
folks, even appointed.
Yep.
I had to do mine for the city. Craig, I think, has to do his, not sure if you have to do it as a public works manager, but I think
No.
you're good.
You don't. But thank you for reminding me about that. I got an email. I don't know if you guys got an email. They're gonna be sending out another one to remind you about that report, but I'll remind you again as well.
I was working on mine the other day. I didn't know that they'd sent out the reminder, so it's confusing when you go on there because there's actually two that says they're due now. Well, one of them covers up the other one. So
I did mine already. We
anyway,
got our
I ended up calling them because I did the one and then it wouldn't let me do the other one that said it was due. So I had to call them and then they checked it out and said, oh yeah, it shouldn't have been there, one of them, so it was wrong in the paper thing.
Otherwise, they'll threaten you with a $5,000 fine, but
They tried to make me pay them $2,000 because I didn't know I needed to report that this year earlier.
that's right, you needed to do it last year, right when you got appointed.
That was awesome.
Nothing, I've had to pay it, so.
Sending you a bill. Other than that, I don't have anything to report, so.
Okay, any other questions for the clerk? Public Utilities Manager, Mr. Perkins.
Okay, one
one of the things that we've already hit on is we read meters this last 2 weeks. For water and for water and power, we had, in the power department, we had 2 of our transformers at different times recently backed into, or somebody driving down an alley bump them and knock them partially off the pad. We had the power district come down, check them out, and set them back up for us. Nothing was broke or ruined, but it's always a concern because we did have one hit a while back and it pulled a cable and broke the connection at the transformer and was leaking oil, and that becomes a problem. So we had that happen. Power district come down and helped us with that. We had opening and closing in the city cemetery for a double urn vault. Just a vault that has a couple of urns in it. And we had one day where we plowed just a skiff of snow in front of the stores and at the school and up the hill. Then we've started working on taking all the Christmas decorations down that we put up, so we're getting ready to do that. We're still working on putting push rails on the new roll-off bins. And then I just wanted to hit you guys up and let you know on a daily basis that we actually go read the meter or check the wells and read the meters at the wells. We go to the lifts or the sewer plant and read the meter there, check everything there, look around, make sure it's okay. And at the transfer station that we're there daily. And then just a rundown with the trash. Monday is our commercial route, then Thursday is our curbside route, and daily my guys are down there to check it and see if a bin needs to be smashed and a new one brought in, things like that. So just want to give you when I bring these reports, and I don't sometimes have a lot, I want you to know that every day we still have things we're doing and we're checking on and a regular routine that we're following that way. So, but that's all I have. We've got nothing major going on. Christmas decorations are gonna be our big push to get them down now.
Yeah, I know we haven't had any weeds growing here for a while.
Yeah,
But there's still problems.
okay,
The fire hydrant just the other side of the stores up here on front, or what is it, Clover Street, I guess, it goes up.
yeah.
You can't even see that fire hydrant unless you knew it was there. And it's been that way since last spring.
Okay.
It's completely out of sight in the weeds there. And that's right on the main drag, right there across the street from the fire lane going in there.
I want to say that your guys doing the meter reads, we used to have a lot of problems, and whatever you've done, the system seems to be working, because the meter read errors that we've been having they've kind of cleared themselves up. It's been a while since we've done that, and so appreciate your guys working hard on that.
Yeah, it's doing a lot better. Okay, any questions for Grant? Okay, discussion of legal issues. Mr. Katsky.
Yeah, a couple things. Last week I started speaking with, his name's Lou Giudice with the Calian Development Company. A couple years ago, 3 years ago now, they were, I guess, awarded, I don't know if that's the right word, but given a recreational medical marijuana growing permit for the city of Caliani, and they've just kind of held on to it for a couple of years. They're now starting to work on hopefully developing some land and get started here in a little bit, I think, with the next year or so. There's a couple of hiccups that they ran into. Is the place where they applied to initially grow their marijuana was pretty close to a hemp farm, and the state of Nevada Agricultural Department has a couple concerns with growing hemp or marijuana close to hemp. And so I think personally and individually, they got that all figured out. So we, as the city, wrote a couple of letters to the Nevada Department in favor of Calian Development Company. So Calian Development Company ended up applying for a hemp license to prevent anyone else from growing hemp around them for the area, and then also writing a letter to the state of Nevada for their marijuana and their recreational medical marijuana. So just to let you guys know, those letters were written, signed by the mayor, given to Calian Development Company, just to let the state know that they have the proper licenses in the city of Caliani to grow medical and recreational marijuana, as long as as well as the fact that the city doesn't have any regulations regarding the growth of hemp in city of Caliente. So that happened, and I just want to make sure we're upfront about everything. The other thing is you'll see in your, I don't know if it's in your packet or how Craig got that to you last, I believe it was 2 weeks ago. We talked about a logo licensing agreement. I guess it wasn't on the agenda because we had already approved to go ahead and allow the license. I've written the agreement up. It's a pretty standard logo licensing agreement. Craig was kind enough to go through it and edit anything out that needed to be edited, so we went back and forth a couple of times. If there's any questions about it, I'm happy to answer those questions. I don't feel it needs to be put on the agenda for approval since we already approved the license and we can sign the agreement with her. If you want to put it back on, that's fine as well. It's not a big deal, but that's there for your reference. And if you have any questions, then I can answer those questions for you. But other than that, I don't believe I have anything else to report. Other than the fact that I know that Craig has been really busy because he calls me often about questions, which is fine. That's what I'm here for. And that's what Craig's here for, so we're all doing well.
Questions for the attorney? Okay. Discussion of issues related to public safety, building inspector's report.
You can skip me if you want, I don't mind. Each have a report in writing. This report, I prepared it for both the Planning Commission and the council, but things have changed. And just today, so this is not the same report that I gave the Planning Commission last night. Not a whole lot changed on it. The committee meeting on the CDBG grant is still pending. They're not going to approve that until we get all the paperwork taken care of. And they're the ones that have to approve the paperwork, so we're waiting for them. And I'm sure you've been in the middle of that as well. Current projects, Battleborn meets, nothing has happened on that because we're all waiting on things to happen there as well. Holt Avenue, single-family residence, they're still waiting for cabinets to finish up that installation. The people that are buying the house are getting really anxious to get moved in. So I'll probably give them a temporary permit as soon as they get a sink in and a toilet. Spring Heights, the house up there, the foam house, it's all dried in and they're started working on the interior stuff. It'll be a while before they get anything done up there, probably because of the weather. We're remodeling a place over on Main Street, 270 Main, for a lady that is getting ready to sell. They're doing painting and drywall on it now. The viral grading and driveway project down there for the other marijuana plant, they're working on the gates and graveling the interior road. They kind of had to stop down there because it was getting so muddy down there they couldn't move. But they're back working on it now, the last couple of days. Keith Camello had a solar panel put in. It's been okayed. The power district went over and inspected it, and you set the meter on it, right?
They did.
They did?
Yep.
Okay.
They programmed a meter for us
Yeah.
for the net metering and put it in.
At our planning commission last night, we opened up a can of worms on tiny homes. They're coming at us whether we want them or not. So the planning commission is trying to get ready to revise. We're going to revise the section 15 area dealing with the zoning for tiny homes. And we want to revised the appendix Q and the ICC regulation for single-family homes to bring it up to the way we want to see the tiny homes handled. Number one, they gotta have a foundation under them. They can't just go put them on trailers and bring them out there and set them up like they were an RV. So we'll be looking at that next week, and hopefully we'll have that back to the council. Probably not the first meeting in March, but hopefully by the second meeting. Clover Creek is still working on some storage units up there. They have not moved on those yet, but they'll probably be doing some more paperwork on those within the next month. Many street apartments. We finally have got those people squared around, and they will close escrow on the 17th of February for the apartments. When that happens, then they're gonna put everybody that's over there now, current tenants, in one building and do the other building, and then move the people that are in this other building back into the new building and redo that. They expect they'll have that done in 6 months. I don't expect that to happen, but if they do, I'd be tickled to death. It's probably gonna be more like 8 or 9 months. And that's about all I've got, unless somebody's got some questions.
Any questions?
On your tiny house thing, is that an individual seeking to bring that in or a corporation or company on the tiny houses?
On the tiny houses,
Someone that's come to you that said, hey, I want to put these in and sell them? Or is it a company, or is it just somebody that lives here that says, hey, I want to downsize?
well,
Or do you know?
it will apply to everybody that wants to do a tiny house.
Yes, to set up our,
Yeah, but I mean, has somebody approached you saying, hey, I want to put one in?
Yes, they have. And I don't want to say, yeah, go ahead, until we get something on the books that we can control and tell them what they have to do.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, but I think one of the issues is that we need to look into is building tiny houses is one thing, but doing it on existing property where there's already a house and putting another house on it because it's smaller and fits, I think is probably another issue, right? You know, whether you can have multiple dwellings on one piece of property or, you know, I don't know where that falls in line.
And that's part of when the section 15 zoning comes in, is we're gonna have to revise that to whatever the recommendation is from the planning commission. And they, of course, will bring it to you guys to approve whatever they recommend. And it's a real can of worms. That's one of the reasons I haven't done anything with it for the last couple of years. In fact, I went back today and spent some time. I looked at this in 2019 was the last time. And I decided, unless somebody really pushes it, we'll just wait till they do start pushing. And it's being pushed, so we have to make some decisions on it. As soon as we can get the planning commission lined up to do it, then I'll bring it to you guys for your approval. And Franklin's been a big help on that, because he's the one that brought up that we needed to look at the zoning as well.
okay, any other questions? I think we've got some complaints about people calling me asking about these containers. What do they call them things?
Connex
Them's
boxes.
Connex boxes. We've got a deal set up where they have to be set on a slab and all this stuff. And we've got several in town that people have moved in that have not been set up that way.
And they have approached, some of those people, same people, have approached me, and I have advised them to make a complaint, then we can do something about it. But if there's no official complaint made, there's not a lot we can do about it.
Well, we can't go to them, I mean, and tell them to upgrade their stuff.
Well, if they want to make an official complaint, then we can do something about
Well,
it.
how about ourselves?
I mean, I think it's in our ordinance, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's in the ordinances right now, so can't wait.
That they have to, they're supposed to be on a permanent foundation. But that
And-
ordinance was written after some of those were in.
No, it wasn't. There's a lot of those that aren't, that been in there, that have just been put in the last couple of years, that was never done. And the gentleman that was here, Laveri, brought that up here
Yeah.
several meetings ago.
Yeah, I talked to him.
And it was, he was let in, made to do what's supposed to be done. And we've got others that aren't.
And he was complaining.
And he did complain. He didn't file a complaint, but he did complain about it. And I agree with him. I think we need to upgrade those things and make them do what they're supposed to do.
Okay, I'll start enforcing it.
Okay, I think we need to do that.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? All right, well, related to public safety, we don't have anybody here. Okay, discussion of, council members' responsibilities, Parks Beautification Committee, Mr. Fitzsimons.
Okay, well, our next CBC meeting should be the third Tuesday of this month, so it should be the 18th of January. They did get the tree signs picked up and all the fake trees on the island, if you notice those lights and stuff. We appreciate all the city crew and their patience in helping these women. Grant actually he knows how it feels now to work with them, and just kidding. We're still setting up a date where they'll remove this, an NDF crew will come help remove this sleigh and stuff. The marquee's still going strong. It's been pretty successful putting things on there. And they're gonna try to do just something on the island, within the season. So I think they've decided that, blue lights are just gonna be on those two natural trees, here soon. And then obviously there'll be probably something for Valentine's Day and that kind of stuff. So flags, like I said, we've ordered more flags so we can put those out for major holidays. But yeah, these women have been great. The committee's been good. You think they would have slowed down in the wintertime, but I've actually had to mute the group chat on my phone because I'm at work and it just keeps dinging, and I help out when I can, but when I'm at work and stuff, I can't. But we've had some citizens step up today that actually helped haul a bunch of stuff back over here to the depot stores where we have it. So we appreciate those citizens, and that's about all we got. When the springtime comes and rolls around, I'll work with Grant too, and we usually do like a cleanup project kind of out there by the transfer station, which we were talking about and stuff. So we got some stuff on the horizon, and the old tacos and Rita's thing will be right around the corner as well. So that's all I got.
Okay. Any questions for Sean? Community Development, Councilman Rao.
Yes, we sort of talked to death, this tiny house deal. That's about the only thing they had at the planning commission last night. But I would like to give the council appendix Q of the tiny houses. So that if they're gonna bring it before us on the second meeting in February,
I'll give one to Grant.
we need to have an idea of what's coming up. From what I can understand, I'm too tall for a tiny house, and I'm against it. On the 18th of January, in this meeting here, we'll have a Lincoln County Regional Development meeting. That'll be our next meeting. And that's all I have to report.
What time is that meeting at, do you know?
4:30. Yeah.
Any questions for Tommy? Okay. Tourism Boxcar Museum is Mr. Laveri, and he's not here tonight. Do we have anybody that to report on anything for him? Okay. Public utilities, Councilman Hunter?
I think we're covered. I think we got it all talked about.
What are we finding out on, putting the meter in on at the coffee shop up here?
So I went and talked to them and left my business card to give to the owner, and I have not heard a response from them. That was the last that we did there. I have quotes to install a meter there, but I don't know how we go about that. I don't know.
Who's gonna pay that and when it's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they came to us earlier with that thing and they agreed they wanted to put that in.
And it's changed hands.
Well, changed hands or not, it needs to get done. I think we need to, remind them. I mean,
When I say it changed hands, since Cole, it's on the second owner now.
Okay.
And so the ones that came in and talked to us. So I just have questions as to what our mobile food truck policy is and how we can hold them to a separate standard than we hold other ones to. That's my question.
Well, I just don't see us, we got people running that thing 24 hours a day, running power, and we don't have a meter on it. It's the only place I know in town that's doing that. I think they need to put a meter on it. And I think we need to put that on our agenda. If we have to put it down and say, you got till this month time to do it, then I think we need to do that. So, let's put that, I'd like to put that on the agenda for our next meeting.
So you're saying that has the newest owner received a conditional use permit for that land?
Not that I know of.
Because the last one I remember was a female who purchased it from Cole, but you're saying that there's one.
There's a new one since that,
Yeah.
so they need to actually be hit with a conditional use permit and reapply for that.
So would you?
I'm sure they assume they can just operate under the same business license. I'm sure that it's not been explained to them that they need to get that. Because they haven't come back in from, it hasn't come before us to get another business license since it changed hands
When was that? When did, you know?
a couple months back. It was not too long ago.
Several months ago, yeah.
Okay.
Well, Franklin, I got a question for you. On a conditional use permit, the conditional use permit stays with the owner that takes it out.
That's what I'm saying is
Yeah.
that there's
Yeah,
a new
so
owner.
the new owner has to get another conditional use.
Yes.
So
The conditional use permit does not run with the land. It
could you draft me a letter that I can deliver to them? Okay.
And let's put that on the agenda for next meeting to set it up, to do it, fix it. Okay,
Well, they
any
pay a
questions
fee
for
that, but
Councilman Hunter? If not, we'll move on. I don't have too much to report. I don't know if anybody's come in while Greg's been working in here for the last several months, but his desk's always been cluttered and he's got sticky notes all over everything. Those are starting to get cleared out now. And he raises up and smiles once in a while now, so I think he's starting to get on top of things. Anyway, I appreciate the effort and the work he's putting in. Okay. Public comment. Do you have any public comment related to any matters concerning the city? Yes, sir.
John Ellis. I know I'm interested in that, that theater we were talking about. You get some appraisals on it, but I hope to do it pretty soon before the building falls down. It's pretty rugged, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've been working, I know I've refurbished 3 buildings there already. I'd like to see that one go back the way it used to look like, and I'm willing to do that. small shop. Really can't do much at the back end, you don't have $1 million to spend here. But, for $3, you could really do a nice job, a couple of little small retail shops in front. So I'm very interested in doing that,
Okay.
just let you know. And,
Do you have a plan on,
I think we noticed some changes in the retail center there. Not a lot, but it's getting a little better.
Getting a lot better.
Yeah, I hate to see it the way it looks. This town deserves better than that. Okay? What do you call a town, a tiny house?
What did I say it again?
400 square feet?
400 square feet is is the appendix says, but that's one of the things that we're going to discuss.
Years ago, I was doing some stuff in Henderson, I had a motocross track there by Ponce Golf Course. They built a, nice,
His speaker's
what
off.
do you call it, trailer?
You turn the mic on.
See, it was a nice, it was only like probably 15, 20 acres, but the houses, they looked like houses. They were put in a normal area, you could buy them, and they were just a really cute house. And maybe they were about 800 square feet, very affordable, and they had a place to park your cars. They did have some CCRs to keep the place,
Yeah.
You know what happens with trailer parks, sometimes the people don't take care of them. And the thing, they just sold just like that. And I think you guys need something like that up here.
Especially for people to,
And
yeah.
I think there's developers, right now, they're big, I do a lot of work for like Dale Horton I do temporary power for their housing tracks. They're going, big time up in Pahrump. It's too expensive in Vegas anymore. So, I mean, this town is just ready to pop if you had some housing or some people interested in doing some development. And some nice development. I'm not talking about subdivide 25 acres and have who knows what's up there.
Mhm.
People from Vegas coming up here and retiring or whatever, they want something nice and new. These houses are nice to get, but they all take a lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
Well, that's why we need to get those properties appraised,
Yeah,
So
but
we
you know
can
what?
get-
Years ago in Vegas, I was involved in 2 industrial parks, and the city of Las Vegas gave away 150 acres to developers to get industrial going in Las Vegas, and it worked. And, the rents were low. I mean, these are big parks. They were 100-acre parks, and this was 30 years ago, they gave the property away for free to the right developer. I don't know how much that property is worth there, but, to get a big developer in there, you might just, give it to them, or the right person.
Yeah.
There's something happen here, because I mean, if you want the industrial park to grow, it's not gonna grow with no housing here. People are leaving, there's no place to live here.
Problem is, if we give away that land, we don't have anything else.
What's that?
If we give away that land, we don't have anything else. Vegas has a lot more.
No, but what they did, it brought things to happen, more industrial. It started the industrial in Vegas, so. But,
Quick note, did you sign in today?
No,
If you'll sign in on that sheet's for you from Tommy, but that other sheet, if you'd sign
Oh.
in,
got it.
and then state your address for our record. just-
Okay, 4 Company Road.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
John, that appendix Q for the tiny houses, I brought that copy up
Oh,
for
okay,
you.
I'd like to see it, okay. I don't think those are a good idea, but.
Okay, any other public comment? If not, we need to set a schedule and review the agenda topic for our next meeting.
Yeah, so the 20th will be our next meeting. Same time, same place, unless there's issues with that.
We good?
One item on there with that, for the metering up here.
Yeah, there's another one too. I got it written down here. I'll make sure it's on there.
Any other things need to be put on the agenda? Okay, if not, adjourn this meeting.
John, what time do you want to get together tomorrow? Quite that late.
Okay.
I don't get up till 7.
Oh,
I wasn't sure when you were leaving, but he knows you need a bus tomorrow.
When I quit working for a living.
I know, now you're working hard.
I thought, man, this is gonna be tough to do.
But it keeps you alive, come on, work.
Yeah.
Not being ready for our meeting tonight.
That's why I do it.
Rain, that's why people's brains